Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio, 107.9 FM, and respective radio stations island-wide. I'm Relika Roach, and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, December 30th, 2020. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport, the Honorable Dr. Anders Rudolph Samuel, to address you. Minister Samuel, you have the virtual floor. Minister Samuel, can you kindly unmute your mic, please? You have the floor. Minister Samuel? We'll proceed. Minister Samuel is experiencing some technical difficulties. At this point, I would like to invite the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Artwell Edion, to address you. Minister Edion, you have the virtual floor.
Good morning, Relika. Good morning to the media. Good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to the people of St. Martin. I'd like to first update on the fact that on December 28th, we got the 61.2 million guilders as a loan from the Netherlands on our Dutch guilder account at the central bank, and we appreciate this, and I would like to thank all of those involved in the negotiations and the process of the discussions that we had to reach to this point. I would like to thank you again. In addition to that, I'd like to say that last year when I did the final press briefing of the year, I had no idea that 2020 was going to be such a challenging year. But despite all that transpired in 2020, we got through. And so regardless of what 2021 is bringing, we will get through it again as a people and as a country. We see that the economy of every country in the world has been affected by this pandemic, which has placed significant strain on countries' finances, and St. Martin, with that, is no exception. Navigating this pandemic as part of the Council of Ministers meant that I've had countless meetings, long work days, and intense discussions over the year to be able to make some tough decisions for our country. We've had numerous stumbling blocks along the ways, and it has not been easy, but nothing lasts forever. Absolutely nothing. Which means that this pandemic can't last forever either. This rough patch that we are now going through cannot last forever. This financial turmoil that we are going through cannot and will not last forever either. And with that in mind, we just have to keep it moving forward. Looking back at the year now, yes, it was very, very challenging and a tough year, but instead of regrets, you can choose to learn from our tough situations. I myself am learning from these tough situations. As a country, we can now look back at all of this and all the shortcomings that were revealed to us this year, acknowledge it, accept it, and make a conscious decision to fix it moving forward. Yes, there were a lot of mistakes in the past, and yes, this Council of Ministers may be at the burden of those mistakes, but it's not something that we could put the blame on. It's not something that we could escape from, and we shall use those burdens as motivation going forward. In 2021, all the plans of the Ministry of Finance that were scheduled for 2020 obviously did not materialize, but we aim to have them executed in 2021. Some of those plans were, for example, going online, our online payments. We're hoping to have this done within the first quarter of 2021. Also have our financial management system up and running, which will basically digitize and automate our whole process within the Ministry of Finance. One of the reasons why we are looking forward to these processes is because one of the main goals for myself in the Ministry of Finance in 2021 is to increase our customer service. We believe that that's one area that we have seen lacking over the last 10 years at least as a country, and we hope to improve this to give in our efforts to give back more to our community. Although we've already managed to get the ball rolling on some projects before the year ended, the pandemic did cause a delay in the overall timelines, but I am confident that we will manage to complete those projects next year. I'd also like to thank companies and entities that helped us throughout this year, persons that helped us throughout this year to help create the payroll support and other programs to be able to navigate through this pandemic. One such company I'd like to thank for sure is SFV and the director Glenn Carty. I'd also like to thank Makisha Brooks at SMDF for their support and the income and unemployment support. And I'd also like to thank the Council of Ministers for their support and efforts the last couple of months. And I know at times I've been very strict with times and dates and very pushy to get things done at times, but knowing that it was all in the best interest of the people of St. Martin and the population. So once again, and I also like to thank the people of St. Martin for your patience through this pandemic and your belief and your faith in us, and for all of the prayers for the Council of Ministers going forward. I also like to thank the media sitting in front of me for your questions and keeping us sharp. And I would like to wish the people of St. Martin a happy and blessed New Year going forward. That'd be all, Rolika.
Thank you, Minister Edion, for your opening remarks. I would now like to invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, the Honorable Dr. Anders Rudolph Samuel, to address you. Minister Samuel, you have the virtual floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning. Good morning, PM. Good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to the media. Good morning to the people of St. Martin. As a year of challenges is coming to an end and is leaving behind memories while the expectations are many. A meeting is planned for today to discuss the way forward with education. We will take the advices of the public health officials into consideration, and definitely we will definitely advise the education stakeholders accordingly. Most naturally, the media will be informed as to the decision made. Having the schools repaired as to provide a positive environment in which our students are educated will certainly contribute to improving the quality of education. Everyone would admit that education is important, so bringing education more to the forefront will also be initiated in the coming year. It is important that more attention be given to the youth of St. Martin. The facilities and the opportunities need to be in place to assist them in their decision-making about their lives and their future. Sports will also continue to get the needed attention, even though the COVID-19 situation has put a damper on things. Fixing the sports facilities and initiating the creation of sports tourism on St. Martin should happen. Culture must also continue to play that so important role in the lives of the people in St. Martin. Putting the accent on the importance of culture for the economy is also one of the things that must continue to take place. I want at this moment to make use of this opportunity to thank everyone that I have worked with during the year 2020, and thank you for your cooperation you have provided. This year, the staff of the Department of Education, and I repeat, the Department of Education, has chosen their Employee of the Year. Her name is Ava Smith-Vedbruggen. Ava was chosen, and I quote, "Ava has worked very hard from the moment she joined the department. She does her work accurately, professionally, and in a timely manner. She is a great team player. She has always been available to offer support and assist whenever needed, whether that may be in a professional or personal matter. Her dedication to her work shows. When times were tough, Ava repeatedly showed up, shined, and provided professional support every single time. And it is truly admirable. A job well done. I will continue to say to the Parliament of St. Martin, all the best for the coming year. To the people of St. Martin, be strong. And to all of us, we are in it together. May God bless us. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Samuel, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport, and Telecommunication, the Honorable Ludmila de Wever, to address you. Minister de Wever, you have the virtual floor. I stand corrected. Minister de Wever just left the meeting. She's experiencing some technical difficulties. Minister de Wever, if you're there, you have the virtual floor. We will proceed. I would now like to invite the Prime Minister and Minister de Wever.
Sorry, Ms. Roach. Thank you so much. I was just switching systems. Good morning, Ms. Roach, Prime Minister, colleague ministers, members of the press, the viewing and listening public. Just a few updates for this week, but before I go into that, I would just like to give just a short statement of encouragement to everyone listening. We all know that this year has been a very challenging year for all sectors of our economy and our public health system. In these last few months, we have adapted our strategies in order to stimulate our economy while enhancing our COVID-19 health protocols. As vaccines become available globally, the good news is that we anticipate 2021 to be a much stronger and more stable year. Despite a difficult year for our tourism industry, we still managed to receive approximately 250,000 tourist arrivals as published by the airport yesterday. We anticipate that these tourist arrivals will continue to increase in 2021, bringing much needed revenue for our entire economy. Therefore, we will commence 2021 with much positivity, but we must still ensure that we follow the necessary health protocols and not let our guard down. And before I do it too early, I do want to wish everyone a very, very safe next 2 days as we ring in the new year and remember all of the health protocols that we have put in place. In addition to that, just to give a brief update that I received from CPS regarding our recent numbers. Sorry if you can just bear with me, as I was having some technical difficulties today. As of Tuesday, December 29th, CPS has registered a total of 1,423 confirmed COVID-19 cases, and St. Martin is seeing on average around 10 to 15 new cases per day. The increasing trend in cases started at the beginning of December, and it has now seemed to have been reversed. However, the reversal and the lower number of cases being currently 89 does not mean that we let our guard down. We have to continue this trend where our numbers continue to decrease by our behavior that is responsible and minimizing our large gatherings. Now, I know that we are going into the end of year celebrations, and while we want to continue doing that with our family and friends, please be safe and continue practicing social distance, wearing of the mask, and proper consistent washing of the hands and hand sanitization. In terms of the active clusters, there are 9 active clusters of COVID-19 cases. Active clusters refer to 3 or more cases linked to each other in a same location. Clusters can be traced to hospital, hotels, yachting industry, police, and offices. Since the partial reopening of the schools on October 19, 2020, there have been 31 COVID-19 positive cases among school-going students aged between 0 and 18 years old. The source of infection was usually someone in their household. Furthermore, 16 school staff have contracted COVID-19 across various schools. Their source of infection was identified as someone in their household. To date, CPS has found no transmission of COVID-19 between school-going students, from school-going students to school staff members, or vice versa. No clusters of cases have been identified in schools as yet, and this information has been shared with the Minister of ECYS. In regards to updates from the TEAT Ministry, I was notified. I would actually like to thank Sir Bobby Velasquez and the Harbor Group of Companies of Port St. Martin for allowing or for sponsoring the fireworks that will take place in Phillipsburg. I believe there is also fireworks display that will take place in Maho. And to both persons that organized this, Sir Bobby Velasquez and the Port Group of Companies, I would like to say thank you very much for that. In addition, the Harbor Group of Companies released a celebratory message of 3 locals that they are celebrating, and I would like to mention those names here today again for promotions and great job done at the airport. That is Lila Simmons, Craig Green, and Contar Concencion. So congratulations to them, and congratulations to the Harbor Group of Companies for celebrating and developing our young professionals in St. Martin. That is all for now. I am available for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister De Wever, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Severe Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the virtual floor.
Thank you so much, Rolika. Good morning to you. Good morning to my members in the Council of Ministers, as well as to the members of the press joining us, and of course, the listening and viewing public. Thank you so much for joining us. I would like to update on our discussions had with the Dutch this coming week, next week. As you know, last week on December 22nd, we signed for the country packages, as well as the loans that were necessary to offset the 50 million loan that was maturing, and to receive the 3rd tranche of liquidity support. This was done via a virtual ceremony, together with the State Secretary Knops and his support staff. We both pledged to continue to work together in the interest of St. Martin and her people, and I stress the need also for this to be done with understanding and respect for each other's perspective and opinion, ensuring the relevant laws are upheld at all times. The Dutch delegation, as a result of those agreements, led by the State Secretary, is expected to arrive for face-to-face discussions during the first week of January, and an individual meeting between the State Secretary and myself is being planned as well during that week. The Council of Ministers looks forward to having open and honest, as well as respectful dialogue and collaboration with our counterparts within the Kingdom of the Netherlands as we work towards the established agreements. As I mentioned before, our organization will be expected to step up to the plate and be the ones to be responsible for the execution of these agreements. So I would like to thank all those civil servants and support staff in advance for the hard work that we're about to engage in as we start those discussions next week, and wish everyone a very pleasant rest for the rest of this week, as it will be tough going as of next week as well. The sale of fireworks has been approved. I did hear Minister Tiat mention this about the displays that were being done specifically by larger companies, which we thank them for. There was much deliberation in the Council of Ministers, but it was decided to approve it and still allow a semblance of normalcy within our society, of course, within reason. As a result, the Fire Department has granted vendors who have met the requirements the ability to sell from December 29th through 31st, so that is until tomorrow. I've already taken note that the general public has bought, and I'm hearing the result thereof, but I would like to remind the general public, as you are requested via the Fire Department, as well as the Council of Ministers, to maintain high caution when lighting fireworks and partaking in such activities. Remember to protect yourself and especially your children, those around you, by ensuring that this is done at a safe distance and far enough away from flammable material, as well as spectators. The Fire Department, together with police, customs, and the Coast Guard, will be vigilant to ensure that all firework activities at the close of 2020 are according to the granted permits and are used in a safe manner. Again, please be very, very cautious. As you know, we are in the midst of a pandemic as well. So take that into consideration, understanding that the limitation of medical services on the island as well. Our Minister of TIAC already gave the general update based on the CPS report received just yesterday, but I would like to add a couple of points that have been also brought forth by CPS. Though it may appear to the public that our cases have decreased, as you now know, we are now at 88 current cases as per December 29th. This is not due to the fact, this is mainly due to the fact that over the holiday period, testing was only conducted on December 24th and resumed on Sunday, December 27th. As such, CPS is expecting the numbers to increase once the holiday period is over. So please do not become complacent. Remain vigilant, adhere to the preventative measures, hand washing, wearing of masks, and social distancing as much as possible. Remain in your close circles and avoid mass gatherings. Avoid large crowds, mass gathering, as this definitely increases your the opportunity to contract as well as spread COVID-19. Other topics also of interest is that SFV is in collaboration with DCOM and CPS, and they launched a public survey. Many of you have already submitted responses, for which CPS is thankful, and they encourage the public to complete the survey as it will be open for another week, this week. The purpose of this survey is to gauge the public's knowledge of COVID-19. The outcome will help to inform the communication strategy. So the best ways to communicate based on the perceived knowledge in the population as to what is still needed to ensure that public knowledge is very, very high and to ensure that we are protecting ourselves to the highest possible level. CPS and the Public Health Department are finalizing also St. Martin's COVID-19 vaccination strategy and implementation plan. St. Martin will be receiving vaccines in the first quarter of 2021, and the details on the vaccines and priority groups will be communicated once more information is known. We continue to collaborate and cooperate with our partners within the Kingdom, FAWES, the RIVM, and our colleagues in Aruba and Curacao. And so again, you are asked to maintain high levels of safety during the holiday season, as this is expected to be, of course, an increase due to more gatherings. I'd like to remind all residents, visitors, organizers of events who have been granted permits to hold events, as well as businesses who have been reopened since our lockdown, to continue heeding the health protocols implemented for your safety, as well as the safety of your employees and your clients. Please remember that a lack of adherence will lead to fines and, if necessary, business closures, which we as a government would like to avoid. And I'm sure you as business people and the population enjoying the use of such businesses would also want to avoid. Government's major priority remains the safety of our people, and that especially of those most vulnerable. And in doing so, ensuring that our economy begins to stabilize and regains pre-pandemic levels that we had maintained prior to COVID-19. As such, residents and visitors are to avoid mingling unnecessarily in large crowds, and anything that is a large gathering should ensure that there's possibility for social distancing. Ensure to move smart when you're out and about in public. I have noted through my movements in and around Front Street, Back Street, and the like that mask usage is at a high level. However, ensuring that you continue to use proper masks and discard ones they are filthy or dirty, continuing to keep a 2-meter distance from persons, hand washing often, and other respiratory etiquette that has been promoted throughout this time, as well as limiting handshakes, hugging, and kissing. I would like to remind you that we have a vision for St. Martin, that we can move from where we are to being the multi-pillar economy that is necessary to protect our economy, to protect you, the people of St. Martin, and afford all the possibilities for growth and empower each and every citizen to reach through their own determination and strength of their own minds, as well as all the actions that they take to continue to progress to the next level. That is our goal, that is our vision, but we need each and every one working together to realize it. There is no limit to the progress that we can achieve as a country. St. Martin is a place where dreams can be achieved. It has also been a year of great challenges. Our ministers have already mentioned that, and I would like to add that we've had many unexpected twists and turns, negotiations, and much more. It has also been a year of growth, tremendous growth in our ability to adapt to the new norms, to increasing online services to the public, and getting some approvals of much needed projects from the trust fund. We have learned many, many lessons, and as a result, we are stronger, we are more resilient, and we grow towards even greater resilience. Even though I will have an official address made for the end of this year and the start of the new one, I'd like to take this time to add my thank yous to those of the Council of Ministers preceding me, to all of those, whether individual, entities, groups, businesses, and the like, who have contributed in kind with their hard work, with their cooperation, including the various high councils of state, the members of parliament, the councils, the government-owned companies, and of course, our dear civil servants who continue to work with us despite the many challenges that we also face. On behalf of the Council of Ministers, the Government of St. Martin hereby wishes all residents and visitors a happy, especially safe and prosperous new year when it comes, and may we all continue to work together for the improvement of St. Martin. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to any questions from the media. Also, a great big thank you to the media as well, and DCOM, of course, for standing in the gap for us throughout this time. Thank you, Relaika.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, for your opening remarks. If you have just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, December 30th, 2020. Thank you for joining us. We now move on to the question and answer session. The virtual floor is open, and Jeffrey Socran of Island 92 Radio, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relaika, and to all of the members of the Council of Ministers and my colleagues in the media, please have a very happy, healthy, and sweet new year. And I hope the Christmas holiday was also joyous for you as well. Minister De Wever, if I might pose a few questions to you this morning. I'm curious about, we had heard you speak earlier in previous briefings about the upcoming COVID insurance requirement that would be required for visitors to the island. Curious as to when that will begin. And you spoke briefly in your opening remarks about clusters. I'm curious, are we seeing any cluster develop within the incoming? Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Sock, for the question. You cut off towards the end, but I think you were just asking about clusters. In regards to the insurance, we were originally pushing for January 4th date to go live. However, as you probably may know, about a week ago, there were some issues with the current system that we are using for the stmartinentry.com, where emails were delayed going to persons applying for it. It has been fixed. It had been handled very, very quickly by the team and resolved. But because of this issue that was happening with a delay in email replies of approvals going to travelers, we decided to push it forward to make sure that when the additional program of the insurance goes on that website, that it is ready to be handled without any hiccups. And so the current date for that is a week later, which means that it will be January 11th. In terms of clusters, up to 3 weeks ago, there was a cluster in a nightlife area. So it's not to basically point light at nighttime activities only. During the day, we happen to be a whole lot more responsible and aware of keeping a mask on and practicing social distance, even though we might be working amongst the same staff members. At night, when we're at dinner, it's a time that we are relaxed, or when we're at a bar or a nightclub, we are relaxed. That's the whole point of those establishments, is to have fun. The thing is that we can have fun, but we can have fun in a very responsible manner. And again, like the Prime Minister just pointed out, I hope you all can hear me properly, because I am seeing that I have some quality messages coming through on my system. What the Prime Minister said is that we did miss a couple days of testing results. Now, that is because of the holidays. I'm not saying that I anticipate it to go higher or lower. The point is that we are missing a couple days. So it's about managing expectations for the public. Do not let your guard down because we are under 100 persons, 100 infections or active cases. Please do not let your guard down. The clusters will come where we let our guard down. And so I will ask the public once again that as we go into these New Year celebrations, that you continue to be safe and to keep it under 100. Actually, let it get even lower than that. We have people coming in. What I want the public to know is that this is the highest number that we have had since the island reopened. This past week, yesterday, the numbers that came in, we had over 7,400 passengers, regardless of whether or not those passengers stay on the island or go to neighboring St. Bart's and Anguilla. The point is that our numbers are going up in terms of our passenger arrivals. The only way that we can continue doing that is by ensuring that we keep our travelers safe, having this insurance implemented, continue to do everything that we have been doing to keep our numbers down, and ensure that we can continue being prosperous for our economy in the new year. Thank you, Dr. Sock.
Minister.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver. Unfortunately, Dr. Sock, we're going to have to continue as we do have 6 members of the media in the meeting this morning. I would now like to invite Dimitri Whitfield of the Daily Herald. You have the floor.
Hi, so good morning to the people of St. Martin, to the Council of Ministers, my colleagues in the media, good morning. My first question is actually can be answered by both the Prime Minister and Minister DeWeaver. Last week, both of you warned that businesses not adhering to COVID-19 safety regulations may be shut down or fined. My question is perhaps a bit simple. To date, since our economy reopened to international tourism in July, August, how many businesses have been closed and how many have been fined?
Hi, thank you for the question, Mr. Whitfield. No businesses have been closed down, but I have sent warning letters to businesses. It has been 8 to date, and I'm sure that everyone is seeing videos that go around. And while I do not want to, keep asking our public to be whistleblowing, that is exactly what it's coming down to right now, is that warnings go out to these businesses where they have large gatherings where no one is wearing a mask. And after the warning, then subsequently it goes to a fine. Then after that, it goes to a shutdown. So we have had 8 warning letters go out to date, where after this, we are hoping that the public and the business owners will comply before it leads to that second escalation level and then a final closure. Thank you, Mr. Whitfield.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver, and thank you, Dimitri, for the question. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown of BCN TV. You have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are present here today. Thank you so much. And question goes to Ms. DeWeaver. Ms. DeWeaver, Prime Minister, last week I asked you about the...
Lyndon, before you continue, Minister DeWeaver just left the meeting. I think she's having some technical difficulties. So she just left the meeting.
Well, General Affairs, I believe the Prime Minister will be able to answer this question. Prime Minister, you're aware of there's a conflict at the airport. According to news readers that the fire department protesting at the airport, there's a strike. And as ministers, right now, as the minister said, 7,000 passengers came and keep on coming to the island. And the airport is right now making the most monies for the government of St. Martin, which we badly need monies. How the government plan to solve this problem at the airport?
Seeing that Minister DeWeaver, I don't know if she's back or not, they, together with the management of the airport, a press release was issued yesterday. That's the latest update I had. I know on the spot, of course, our fire department served as backup for the members that had returned to work that day, because they were able to secure sufficient firefighters with that expertise to be able to continue to maintain flights. And as she mentioned, several thousands of passengers were able to arrive over the weekend, including on that day. What I have asked is that, of course, whatever the concerns are, that they are heard. I was assured that they were in discussions with the firefighters, among others, pertaining to benefits and or bonuses that hadn't been paid out. And I expect that this is being resolved. I do see that the minister is back in the meeting in this press briefing, and she'll be able to give you more updates. But I would like to remind that government does not interfere in the day-to-day management of the government-owned companies. That is for the management, the supervisory, and in this case, the holding company. Yeah, so they report to us, and as such, we can have discussions with them. But the day-to-day management of the airport is for the responsibility of the management. Minister De Wever, if you would like to add.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Sorry for that, I dropped out. Thank you for the question, Mr. Brown. Prime Minister answered it perfectly. The one part in terms of my presence at the airport is that civil aviation falls under the Ministry of TAIAT. As such, the Ministry of TAIAT is responsible for the safety and security of the airport. Hence my presence at the airport to ensure that it was safe and secure to continue our airplanes arriving to the airport without an issue. Very early in the morning, I was updated by this Chief Operations Officer, Mr. Michel Hyman, who informed me that there was a tardy arrival of workers from the fire department. The airport cannot function at Category 9, where we receive our larger planes, such as Air France and cargo, if we do not have a full staff on hand, on site. It was quickly resolved because we do have standby staff. We even reached out to the fire department, the regular fire department under the Prime Minister, which there was no need for it because the other firefighters that were on standby were there to cover the, cover the schedule of the ones that called in sick. Everything is being handled. A report was received by the managing board of the company, of the airport, as well as a report was done by Civil Aviation through Mr. Hawley, Mr. Lewis Hawley, and any negotiations that have to be done and managed between the fire department and the airport management team is currently underway. I would like to announce to the public that there were no flights that were canceled that day because of a result of half of the staff showing up and the other half of the staff being ill. But as the Prime Minister mentioned, this is an issue for management. My involvement is that of civil aviation safety and security. And ultimately, they do report to the shareholders, which is the government, but they are ENVI, and they are in charge of their day-to-day operations. And they have reassured the government and the stakeholders that this is under control and will be and continue to be handled by Mr. Hyman and Mr. Mingo. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister De Wever, and thank you, Lyndon, for that question. I would now like to invite Bibi Shah Hodge of SMN News. You have the floor.
Good morning. Good morning. Minister De Wever, seems like today is your day. About a few weeks ago, Minister, the PJIE Operational Board started a procedure against the CEO. What's the opinion of the Minister of TAIAT and, if possible, the Council of Ministers with the procedures that started against the CEO where they asked him to resign and, if not, possible dismissal very soon?
Thank you, Mr. Hodge-Shaw, for the question and for making me smile that today is my day. but nonetheless, it was the holding company via Mr. Dunker that started the procedures where there is I guess a discussion and negotiating going on between the operating company who reports to the holding company, which is managed by the managing director, Mr. Dunker. The conversations and discussions are still ongoing. At the same time, everyone has all hands on deck. Just because there is a discussion and a negotiation going on internally between management does not mean that the functioning of the airport does not have the attention and priority and of the managing board, both Mr. Mingo, actually all three, Mr. Mingo, Mr. Van der Meijden, and Mr. Hyman. So yes, there is something that was prematurely leaked to the press. I do not have an opinion on that until I continue discussions with both the managing board of the operating company as well as the managing director of the holding, Mr. Dexter Donker. Once I do, I will be able to update the public on that. Thank you very much, Ms. Hodge Shaw.
Thank you, Minister De Wever, and thank you, Bibi, for the question. I would now like to invite Stephen Cerillion of PJ82 Radio. You have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Good morning to you, ministers. Good morning to you, Prime Minister, my colleague as well. My question is directed to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, you said that a Dutch delegation headed by the State Secretary will be arriving here for a working visit next week. First of all, when exactly next week will this delegation be arriving? What will be the nature of your discussion, and who exactly will the delegation be meeting with?
Thank you for that question, Mr. Cerillion. I have been, together with my staff, trying to get the details of such. As you may know, we have Dutch representation on the island in the person of Mr. Chris Johnson, who is coordinating the visit. And as such, I have been informed just recently, just a few minutes ago, actually, that the arrival is expected to be, or the meetings are supposed to start on the 6th and 7th of January. So I believe that they are arriving on the 6th and we will be meeting on the 7th. And I believe the technical support will continue from the 13th onwards. So that's as much as I have, or until the 12th or the 13th. That's as much as I have at this moment, literally emails that I just received. And so I didn't even get a chance to even discuss it internally, but that is being projected, and I will follow up with the Dutch representative for further information and share that with the press as we know more.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Stephen, for the question. I would like to inform members of the media that the Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment, and Infrastructure, the Honorable Egbert Duran, is present in the meeting and is available for any questions the media may have. I would now like to invite Andrew Dick of TV Carib. You have the floor.
Yes, good morning. Good morning to the ministers. This question is for Minister De Wever, particularly. Minister Weaver, concerning the airport, as a point of clarification, you said that Mr. Hyman and Mr. Mingo has the situation under control. However, the reason why the situation took place was because of Mr. Mingo. So is the Council of Ministers at least looking at the developments or at least the effects that Mr. Mingo is causing the country? That's the question. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Dick. You cut out at the very end of your question if you were asking me whether or not I was told that the reason for the sick out, quote unquote, sick out is because of Mr. Mingo. I was at the airport and that was not the reason that was given to me. The fire department had the opportunity to talk to me directly. I did not receive that as an explanation for it. It is an internal situation that I will not put on a public display here in a press briefing. And any conversation for the reason of a sick out, I will discuss with the holding and operating together in a meeting that we actually had planned to happen this week. Hoping that answers your question.
Thank you, Minister De Wever, and thank you, Andrew, for the question. We now move on to the second and final round of questions. Jeffrey Sokran of Island 92 Radio, you have the floor.
Good morning. Minister De Wever, I guess it is your lucky day. Was wondering if you could further elaborate a little bit on the COVID insurance. As you had indicated, the planned start date was January 11th. So does that mean that people that receive their pre-approval prior to that date that arrive within the prescribed window after January 11th will be kind of grandfathered in? They won't be able to be required to purchase it in advance before they arrive. How will that all kind of work? Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Salk. The insurance has to go, so the day that it goes live to the public will be January 11th, but the date that it actually is live online is 5 days beforehand because of the 120 hours or 120 days. There is also an option, so there's a video coming out now this week as well. We put a delay on it when we had the couple technical issues with the St. Martin Entry website. So it will be live 5 days from beforehand, that people who had already received their approval within the 5 days up until the live, the actual the live date of the 11th, will be able to purchase it as well. So there are a couple scenarios here. People can purchase it after the live date of January 11th, or there is also another option online on the website for them to purchase it if they are already on the island. So all of this will be released with the video, with the tutorial video of the insurance, as well as the press release that has been approved. Thanks, Dr. Salk.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver, and thank you, Dr. Salk. I would now like to invite Dimitri Whitfield. You have the floor.
Hi, good morning again. So for my last question, I will deviate a bit and ask my question to the Prime Minister. And I'm asking my question to the Prime Minister in lieu of Health Minister Panafleck, who is not in the meeting. So my question is, the Netherlands recently announced some of its COVID-19 vaccination distribution plans, specifically the 26 sites where people in the Netherlands can go and get vaccinated. The Netherlands wanted to start vaccinations in the kingdom in early January. And several weeks ago, Minister Panafleck said our own vaccination distribution plans are being prepared, but today little of the details have been disclosed to the public. Madam Prime Minister, you said earlier in this press briefing that more details will be given when more information is known. However, since our other partners in the kingdom are moving more swiftly with their own strategies, what is causing delays in our strategy from being finalized? Thank you.
I saw Minister Tiat preparing, as she's the interim minister of VSA, but since it was I indeed who mentioned that part, I will state this. A plan is finalized or being finalized. It hasn't been presented to the Council of Ministers as yet. As such, we cannot divulge it. There is a plan that has been prepared by our medical professionals. They cannot state, for instance, that they will have 5 distribution points until we know for sure how many vaccinations we will be receiving. So a lot is contingent on the amount, and that is still pending in terms of how much we'll be receiving and when. That's why they made a very broad statement to state that it's going to happen in the first quarter, and as soon as we have more information, Mr. Whitfield, that will be divulged. I don't know if the Minister of TIAD as interim VSA has anything further to add, but based on the report I received from CPS, that is what I've been able to get. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. That was actually a succinct update. Yesterday, the head of CPS informed us that they were busy preparing an onboarding plan for the new staff that's coming in to assist CPS. So basically, rotation of the AMI staff. At the same time, they were working on the vaccine strategy, which will be ready this week, Mr. Whitfield, so that we can send that to you and update the rest of the public with it once it's available. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Minister DeWeaver. Dimitri, thank you for the question. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown of BCN TV. You have the floor.
Good morning again. Question to Minister DeWeaver. The people of St. Martin wants to know who will be the first to receive the vaccine, and those that refuse, what will be the consequences?
Minister DeWeaver, your mic.
Technical. Thanks, Mr. Brown. The vaccine strategy is not yet finalized. In that strategy is where we will tell you how the vaccines are going to be rolled out. Now, some suggestions, for instance, as my role as Minister of TAYET that have come out, is that frontline staff gets priority, whether it is medical staff, staff at the airport, That is what I have been advised or been requested from the stakeholders. All of this information will be available once our strategy is finalized. That way we can share it. Thanks very much, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Minister De Wever. I would now like to invite Bibi Shah of SMN News. You have the floor.
Minister De Wever, can you give us an update on the appointment of the directors of the Port St. Martin? That process has been going on for quite some time. No feedback. Can you tell us also what happens as the interim minister of VSA? When will the board members be appointed at SZV? I mean, these are boards that doesn't have their full membership. So can you give us an update on the appointment of the directors of Port St. Martin that have been going on, and when will the board members of SZV be appointed?
Thanks, Ms. Hadshaw. I do not have a date on the board members of SZV. What I can say is that the process has been finalized for the search for the CEO of the port companies, the port group of companies. And there are 3 finalists, which are still going through the process of whether or not they will take the job. That's as much as I can publicly divulge. Thank you very much, Ms. Hadshaw.
A follow-up.
Bibi, unfortunately, with the time that we have, I cannot allow that at this point. I would request that you send it in writing. Minister De Wever, thank you once again for your response. I would now like to invite Stephen Cirillion. You have the floor.
Thank you again, Ms. Roach. My final question is for the minister responsible for TIAT, Mr. De Wever. Earlier on, you said that there has been an increase in tourism arrival, and that is projected to continue into next year. Can you tell us as to what's our hotel capacity at this time? And secondly, you have been having a series of meetings with FCCA. Any knowledge or disclosure as to when we'll be seeing cruise ships arrival again, Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Cirillion, for the question. In terms of during the Christmas and New Year's dates, we always see a huge surge in passenger arrivals, which is why it's about 2,000 more than the previous 2 weeks. We have to continue sort of promoting the island, making it easy for people to come into the island in order to encourage those numbers to remain continue to increase. There is always a little bit of a drop off after the New Year celebrations, which is already being reported to me from the hotels in their occupancy. What I can say for this week is that some of the smaller boutique hotels informed me that they were at 100% occupancy, whereas the larger hotels such as Maho and Ocean Point are over the 40% mark. And then the last 50% for some of the smaller timeshare hotels, as well as 55% for the larger ones, such as Simpson Bay Resorts. Now that is still higher than we reported the last time we spoke about occupancy levels, which goes to show that the season is one of the biggest factors, as well as the fact that we are one of those places that people can come to with as little loopholes to, or hoops to jump through as possible. In terms of the cruise sector, up until the point of the vaccination being ready, cruise was scheduled to come back March. So some of the larger cruise lines were at the end of February, and then the others gave a date of March 2020. What's happening now is that some hotels, as well as some airlines, are seeing postponement of bookings because a lot of their guests that are older are waiting for the vaccine to be rolled out in the US before coming to St. Martin. This is the reports that I'm getting from some of the hotels as well. So that's going to have the same effect with persons with the cruise sector. Everyone is waiting eagerly to hear what's going to happen with this vaccine because they look at it as a way for us to resume our normal lives. And once we have more information on that vaccine, we will get more dates. I do have a meeting coming up next week with FCCA again, and I will be able to give you more updates after that. Thank you, Mr. Cirillian.
Thank you, Minister De Weaver, and thank you, Stephen, for the question. Members of the Media Council of Ministers, this does bring us to the end of the question and answer session. Members of the media, once again, thank you for joining us. I would like to inform members of the media if any questions were unanswered or you would like a follow-up, please direct those questions directly to the Minister's Cabinet. I would like to invite the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Severo Jacobs. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Yes, my apologies, Rolika, for stopping your spiel. I realized that I forgot to mention that there is some inclement weather expected. And as such, I'd like to remind the people of St. Martin to be vigilant, follow government's announcements. Our meteorologist will be keeping us updated. There is expected to be excessive rainfall. And of course, that also causes slick roads, etc. I forgot also to mention that road users are asked to remain cautious. Please don't drink and drive. Have a designated driver in your small groups as you do go out. I encourage you to stay at home and enjoy the view of the fireworks from a distance. I'm sure that based on the several areas that they're being set off, that you will be able to see them from many locations without bunching up in one area. So I ask all those that are within view of the fireworks to ensure that they are maintaining social distancing for their clients. But seeing the amount of rain that is expected, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we will actually be able to understand what we do normally have on our old year celebration into the new year. So with that being said, Rolika, pay attention to the weather reports, keep your plans accordingly, and be safe, St. Martin. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this does bring us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, December 30th, 2020. For rebroadcast, tune into St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, the YouTube channel Government of St. Martin, and St. Martin Cable TV channel 115. For video on demand, log on to the official government's website at stmartingov.org. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Rolika Roach and wishing everyone a happy and prosperous new year, and do have a blessed day further.